how is it like to be a black person in the U.S., both in history and in contemporary times?
Sure. I would say that's a great question. I would say we were facing, it's been an absolute hell, despite what anyone says. The truth of it is, we have faced an impossible set of circumstances over the last 400 years. It is impossible for Africans in the West to have survived this 400-year period. 400 years of impossible odds for us to survive and have even a semblance that we are African. So it was physically difficult back during those times because you were outgunned, outnumbered, you were in chains, and we were facing just pure torture and genocide as they worked us to death in the context of our experience. Now, it is a sophisticated, psychological genocide that is occurring. And so it's the same kind of death that's occurring, it's being done differently. But the African who was in Africa, sovereign, had our own traditions, mores, folkways, our own culture, our own personality, our own solid identities. Those African people who we were then in a space of freedom and sovereignty, that is not what we have been in the West. We have been a group of people fighting to maintain our identity, to find and re-find our identity, and to just survive the most brutal and abusive people on the planet. And it hasn't changed in that sense. What has changed is the type of abuse that we suffer.
You could give us a few examples of the prolonged fight.
Sure.
I'm talking about the Amistad. I'm talking about the Underground Railroad. I'm talking about the American Civil War, because you people fought on the right side, so to speak. Then the civil rights movement. You could give us a brief on those attempts to free yourselves.
Sure. So the first set of attempts, the first objective as African people who were taken to the Western Hemisphere was a simple one. We want to get out of these chains and be free. What free meant to us at that time, for the most part, getting back to Africa, maybe when we first were taken on a boat, we thought that way. But after a generation or so, we weren't thinking that far back. We were thinking, we want to get off of these plantations from underneath the rule of these abusive individuals, these foreigners, and we want to be free. Meaning we want to be able to get up in the morning, go work the fields, produce food that we can benefit from, create our own clothing, our own shelter, have our families, and live life according to our own design. We don't want to be slaves to others who tell us what we can do and have to do. It was a physical enslavement. So the first part of it was we were fighting to get from underneath that. To give a context to people, what did it mean to be dragged from the African continent and taken into slavery in the West? Let me just paint the picture. It meant that if you had a village of 10,000 people in your village and your village was attacked, it was generally attacked in two ways. Either Europeans came with guns and directly came into your village and attacked you and then killed a substantial amount of your people and then took them in chains, starved you half to death before they put you on boats, or your own people that looked exactly like you, either another group or higher ups in your group, decided it was good business and enterprise to sell you to these individuals with no knowledge or idea what they were going to do to you and no concern. It was only about their benefit, whether that benefit be rum. Literally, I like this rum that I can drink, so I want to get some rum and I'm going to sell people for some rum. Or it could be weapons. Hey, we want some weapons to use to go capture more of groups or a different ethnic group that we've had clashes with over time. We want to get the superior edge on them. So we're going to use these European weapons and then we're going to go beat you up with them, and then we're going to sell you to these people so that they take you. So just to understand the basic context. So the pain on one end, where you see these foreigners that come in, and many of us fought back against that. Of course we would. And then the pain to see your brother, or who should be your brother that looks like you, smiling with someone who looks the opposite of you, who's totally foreign to you, and exchanging you to this person for whatever benefit it appears that you're getting. Now, if we talk about what happened, we're clear that I think everybody would know rape was just part of the context of the transatlantic slave trade. There was no law governing how much rape could occur. Where I think many African people would really, our brothers and sisters on the continent who are not familiar, where really you can bust the grape wide open and go, we know that during war, it's unconscionable, but men tend to rape women. It happens.
True.
It's wrong, but we know it happens. What we had not conceived or understood even when it was occurring, why it was occurring, was that the men were raped, the women were raped, and the children were raped. In our mind as men, as African men, a male violating a male sexually didn't even exist. We don't have a concept, we don't have a word for it. So you can imagine a strong man who protected his community, that was his job. Now he's enslaved in chains on a ship, chained, being raped. What's going on in his mind? He can't even conceive of what, because it can't happen. Because a male's not attracted to a male sexually, even for violation. It just, because what would that make you, that you would want that? We don't know that. So that occurs, and that's a process of an attempt to break the spirit of the black man, of the African. Whatever you thought you were before, we're eliminating that. You're something new now. You now open up. Your now becomes our. It's so far removed from us, and then to see the same happen to our children, like that's a little girl. She's 5. What are you doing? What? That's a child. You're not supposed to do that. Or it's a little boy. How do you rape and get joy out of hearing a child boy scream as you violating him? What are you doing? This was not something that happened once. This became a new reality during that process of the enslavement. In fact, on the slave plantations, they would work us to death trying to get cotton, trying to produce sugar, and it was creating great wealth for Europeans. Because when they came to Africa and kidnapped us, we want people to understand, they didn't take the people that didn't have anything. They took the agriculturalists, they took the medicine folks, they took the builders who knew how to build homes and infrastructure. It's a lie that they stole savages. No, they stole the best. That doesn't mean...
So it was a kind of brain drain.
It was a brain drain and a skill drain, because they were in the process of building a new world. So they were building it from scratch. So they needed builders. What do you need? You need medicine people, the people if you get sick. You need people that can build homes, people that can build aqueducts, people that can build... These are things we had in Africa. It's not debatable when you do the history. So they came to get those people to do it for them. And they did a good job at forcing us to do that. What we don't talk about, though, is it wasn't just the slave plantations. They also had what we call sex farms. On these farms, Europeans and others from different places that had wealth would go to them. And they would purchase black women, black girls, black boys, and black men, who they would call bucks. And they would purchase them for sexual exploitation. So you can imagine it would be similar to a brothel, but we're talking a very dark system here, because you now have a system where black males are trained to take our daughters and present them as sexual objects for the sexual gratification of people who are coming to buy them. Something that contextually did not exist. It was different if you were in a society and you have many men and women and somebody comes and somebody likes a woman there, that's different. There's an understanding of male-female balance. But to present the women you're supposed to be protecting and you're supposed to be the brothers and fathers for, to present them as merchandise to people coming to purchase them. This became a whole new world that we were in, where there was no respect for even our basic civilization as Africans.